Right.
We can hear you loud and clear.
You can?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thanks, Karina. Good afternoon to all our SAIAshare attendees. On behalf of SAIA Practice, a very warm welcome to all of you. If this is the first time you are attending, then a special word of welcome to you. We do hope that you will be stimulated and inspired after this afternoon's program. My name is Eugene Barnard. It is a privilege for me to be involved with SAIAshare and to host this presentation this afternoon. Karina Gibson from ECPD is in the engine room. Welcome, Karina. And then thanks to our sponsors, Plascon. Their kind sponsorship makes it possible to present this event to you free of charge. We thank them for this, for the sponsorship. And then an invitation to you, please participate by posting questions or comments in the questions box. We do hope, and we will try our best to get to all the questions and comments. In session 2, Nathan Kabinga will be sharing his very special talent with us. I have no doubt that you'll enjoy his presentation. But first, for session 1, we welcome Maria Day to the screen. Maria is the COO of the Institute of Interior Designers, although she joins us with a different jacket on today. She's also a Neurozone facilitator. For those of you who don't know, Neurozone blends neuroscience and analytics to build resilient people who don't burn out. Maria is dedicated to guiding individuals and companies through a process of developing a mindset that encourages a continual practice of thriving and understanding how to embrace a way of thinking that activates the brain in order to optimize problem solving, creativity, and innovation. Simply put, Maria loves to teach others how to think creatively. Maria, thank you for sharing your experience and knowledge with us. We look forward with much expectation to what you will be telling us. So over to you.
There we go. Okay, so I'm going to be switching my camera off just to make it easier and the slides a little larger. Thank you so much for carving out time in your busy schedules to be with us today. I'm very excited to share about this topic because so often we hear of people, especially when they're looking at students or children, saying, oh, they should go into a creative field, they're very good with their hands. And I always have a good laugh on the inside because that's only part of it. The creativity is actually, you know, it stems from the brain. So what I want to share with you today is how to be creative with the brain in mind, and where does the creativity sit, and how do we maximize our potential as creatives. The other reason that I think it's important to share this content as well is very often when we approach something new or we need to be innovative or creative on a new project and we're struggling, we judge ourselves and we think, oh, you know, I can't do this, or maybe I'm not good enough, where in actual fact, more often than not, it's got nothing to do with it. It's what's actually taking place on the inside of your brain. And because we don't see our brain, we don't always take the time to take a step back and say, all right, well, what could be going on? What could be the causes of what it is that I'm feeling? So I'm hoping that today there's a lot more information to designing with the brain in mind, but I just extracted a few things that I hope will give you enough tools to interpret certain emotions that you might be going through and how to thrive from a creative perspective. If you can change the slide, please, Karina. So firstly, if we take a look at this slide, the most important component for us to be effective and to really enhance our creativity is for us to be in a relaxed physiological state. It's a state where we're not experiencing a lot of stress. And when I talk about stress, I mean a stress that is ongoing. And so if you look at the image in the front of you, you'll see there's sort of a yellow line. I'm hoping it's showing up yellow on your side. And what we want to do is to work north of that line. When we talk about dysfunction, we actually talk about dysfunction as far as our physiological state goes. So when you are constantly stressed, you're constantly in a mode of anxiety, you actually start impacting how your brain actually functions. It will impact your physiological state, and you will actually experience inflammation within your body, in your brain, which leads to a lot of disease, and as well will impact your creativity and how you access knowledge. It will destroy a lot of the cells which you need to be able to recall. So what it is that we really want to do is the very first step is to prevent dysfunction. Now, as I said to you, we all have stresses, but the resilience in the stress, and looking at that from a neuro perspective, the resilience doesn't mean you've just got grit and you can handle the situation and you've got to be tough. It's more about experiencing the challenges that you might face, learning from them, but allowing your body to get back into a relaxed physiological state. When you do that, if you don't do that and your body is continuously in that stressful state, that is when you're looking at chronic stress. And as I say, that's when we start creating inflammation within our body and our brain. And then we want to build a platform, the brain-body system optimization. And that means we are aware of what it is that we're dealing with on the inside. So when you are feeling anxious or you are experiencing anxiety, you can take a step back. You know how to actually calm yourself down, and we might get some time to talk about those tools. But if not, that you can then get to a point where, from a health perspective, exercising and everything that impacts your brain, you're starting to engage with that, so that it allows you then to go into maximizing your creativeness, which is with skill sets and competencies, which means that any knowledge that you gain, and knowledge is power, because the more knowledge you have, it allows your brain to obviously recall that information, which allows you to connect dots. So when you're able to do that and your brain is able to recall information, that is when you're really flourishing and thriving. And the reason to understand this is, if we look at our brain from we're going way back to our ancestors, our brain only knew to do two things, and that was to thrive or survive. And our brain has never really changed from that. We haven't moved on from that. So everything that you are experiencing, your brain only interprets two things: is, do I need to go into a survival mode, or will this allow me to thrive? And so when we interpret a lot of the information today, it will be from those two standpoints. Next slide. Okay. So I'm going to look at emotional drivers. The reason that I believe this is important is because we're social beings. A large portion of our brain is actually committed to social thinking in social environments. Again, going back to our ancestors, we used to hunt within a group. We did nothing alone. As a matter of fact, to be on your own meant death. So a lot of what we do, our brain interprets from a social perspective and how we engage with people around us. So I wanted to look into the office space as well, because I think our mindsets collectively are very important. So I want to just discuss a few of these points before we do a deep dive into the brain and how the brain actually functions when it comes to creativity. So part of the brain, we have the amygdalas, which are two sort of almond-shaped parts of the brain, and we'll get more into that a little bit later. But the responsibility of the amygdalas is to do value tagging, meaning it's like the eyes looking outward into your environment as to what is happening and what is going on. And the way it interprets that information is based on what you downloaded between the ages of 1 and 7 years old. So between the ages of 1 and 7, your brain is in a theta state, meaning all it does, it downloads information. It looks at the behavior, at the people or the people that you are engaged with, your family, your friends, maybe it's nursery school, and you look at how people behave and what their responses are, the value tagging they do, and you almost imitate and copy that. And that is what you will actually see the rest of your life. That will be the lenses that you would look through in your life. And so very often when you do face challenges, it's good to kind of go, where did that come from? Where might I have picked that up? And that doesn't mean you're stuck with those kind of lenses. You can adjust them, but you need to be aware of them. So within value tagging within a company, one thing that is very important is for your team to feel like they belong. According to a lot of the research that they've done, there is a difference between bonding and belonging, and very often we get those two mixed up, and they actually are, they take place in two different parts of the brain. So bonding is more of a relationship that you'll see between a mom and her new baby, where you have oxytocin that's released and there's a bonding. You will see it between a married couple, you will see it within families where there's an intense bonding. But belonging means that somebody has your back. You know that that person will take care of you. They're not gonna, throw you under the bus. And so within a group, at work, if you do not feel that you belong, if you do not feel that you have an identity within the company that effectively contributes and adds value, your brain will go into a state of, it feels like it's constantly being attacked. And I'm again going to go back to being a hunter. When you see a wild animal that could kill you, that's how your brain will interpret the messages that the amygdala is sending. So the amygdala will go, have I seen this before? Have I seen it before when people gossip about me? Yes, I have. What happens? It doesn't end well. We go into a fight. Have I seen it before when the boss or there's somebody out to get me? So you're not relaxed at work. You're constantly in that state of trying to protect yourself. And then that obviously will not allow your brain to effectively go into recalling information and allowing you to be creative the way you would want to be. So that value tagging is very important, and having at least one person within the company that you feel you've connected with that person. Then goal directedness within a company. So goal directedness and goal setting are two very different things as well. Goal setting is something that we do. Goal directedness is an act. It's a subconscious act. And again, it drives the brain performance based on, is this going to allow me to thrive? Is this good for me? Or is this a challenge? Do I feel threatened? Is the situation going to eat me? That's how your brain will perceive the environment. And so one thing that is really, really good with that is to create an environment that allows your brain to release serotonin, which means, it's a pleasant environment, it's a happy environment. There isn't a lot of tension. There isn't a lot of conflict, be amongst the staff or something like that. And something that you can do as well for goal directedness, which is very important, is as a company, if everybody actually understands what it is that you're working towards, and so they feel that they are within that group working towards a specific goal within a project, then you feel more relaxed. You know what it is that you need to do. You know what your part is that you play within that group, and that allows your subconscious state to go back to the relaxed physiological state that we spoke of earlier, that allows you then to be creative. So you want to make sure that the drivers, you know, like the serotonin, that allow you to feel happy and creative, those are the ones that are actually functioning at that point in time. And then last but not least, which I think is another important point, is collective creativity. And it was very interesting before COVID, about 5 years before COVID, when I used to go to companies and do talks, we often used to say to them, you need to be mindful that things are going to change. Work is changing, how we work, the hours we work, where we work from. You need to be flexible and allow for that space for people, you know, to be flexible, you know, based on what their needs were. And there was, and even in the educational spaces, and there was a lot of resistance, especially with education. They were going, oh, we can't do it, it's not possible. And then COVID hit us, and needless to say, we were working from home and we were working remotely, which was, I mean, a lot of people enjoyed that, but, and we'll get into that a little bit later, if your executive functioning skills were not optimized and developed, you would struggle to work remotely. You would struggle to work via Zoom. You would struggle to pace yourself at home and that kind of thing. And as I said, we'll get a bit more into that. But what I want to bring to your attention as well is when you're working in a group, when you come back to the office, when there are days where you want to be creative, when there are days that you need to be innovative or problem solve, it's very important to get a group together, and especially a group that you do feel comfortable with, where there's a good balance between a female and a male brain, different ages as well, because everybody has a very different value tagging system based on their life experiences. So you will be limited with your creativity just because of your value tagging limitations. But within the group, if everybody has different levels of value tagging, you can bring different ideas to the table. What they do, they refer to that as the G factor. So the G factor means an independent genius level of an individual. But then we have the C factor, and the C factor always outweighs the G factor of an individual. C factor meaning a collective genius, a collective creativity. So that's why with your creative teams, it is good to maybe have days where you do get together and you can brainstorm, you can problem solve. It's because of that. So I hope that's just giving you a bit of an idea of the environment in the office, what is conducive to a creative environment. And if you see somebody maybe pulling out of a group, maybe not performing the way they used to, more often than not, it might just be that they don't feel a part of the team anymore. They don't feel like they add value. They feel that, you know, they just don't identify with the group. They don't have a place in the group. So I just wanted to chat about that. But we're going to do a bit of a deep dive now. If I can have the next screen, please. So these are the points within the brain that we're going to be discussing that are very important when it comes to creativity. It's your prefrontal cortex, the hippocampus, the hypothalamus, and the amygdala. If we can move on to the next slide. So the prefrontal cortex, as you can see, the golden part in that image, it's the front part of your brain, and that is the most sophisticated part of the brain, meaning it does the most sophisticated functions. And earlier you would have heard me talk about executive functioning. So what executive functioning does is it helps you to plan a task. You know, what is priority, what is not as important, the time it will take to do something. So your time management, it allows you to pivot, foresight, hindsight, a lot of the self-talk, and a lot of your problem solving and your creativity takes place in the prefrontal cortex. Then in the next slide, there we go. So we have the hippocampus. That has to do with learning and memory, specifically long-term memory. And you'll see that as well as where a lot of your new cells will grow. We refer to that as the neurogenesis, which I've indicated. And if you see in the top slide, there's like these little popcorn things around the cell. Those are called growth factors. And those growth factors are there to stimulate, especially with the development of new cells or to strengthen existing cells. And those growth factors, for instance, if you are following a healthier diet, if you're exercising and you are maybe meditating or silencing the mind and that kind of thing, that allows those growth factors to optimize the functioning of the neurons. So if your diet isn't as great or you're not exercising at all, those neurofactors will be impacted and they will reduce the brain's ability to be able to recall information. Okay, next slide. I'm just touching on these, but it will make sense once we've gone through all of them. And then the hypothalamus, that keeps your body, so where the amygdala, where the eyes that were looking outwards, your hypothalamus is known as the eyes that look inward. So when it receives information from the amygdala, it will then stimulate the body as far as hormones go, or anything else that will actually make you go into a fight or a flight or a relaxed mode. So it also keeps your cycles, and that as well is why it's important. Our body functions in rhythms. It does very well with rhythms. So your heart has a rhythm, your breathing has a rhythm. So if you can maintain rhythms, your body will feel a lot safer. Very often, if you have a certain routine within a day and you deviate from that routine and you do something else, your hypothalamus suddenly goes, what's wrong? Why are we doing something different? And then you might find that you forget something or you didn't do something that you usually do, and it's because your rhythm was thrown out. And that's as well why your sleep cycles are important, you know, to go to bed at the same time, wake up at the same time. It's to maintain the rhythm, and rhythms keep your body relaxed. So the next slide we discussed earlier is the amygdala. As I mentioned, it's the eyes looking outward. And so what happens is, remember I said to you, a lot of your downloading and the lenses of which you view life between the ages of 1 to 7 goes into your long-term memory. A lot of that becomes habits. When your amygdala looks outwards, and it might see a situation where your boss calls you in and you get really anxious, your brain goes, have we seen this before? Yes, the last time that happened, I got fired. You know, it will recall all those emotions. It will recall all the challenges or the stresses that you went through, and your body will act accordingly. So you might then, we actually refer to it as the amygdala hijacking. So I just want to go to the next screen, and I actually want to consolidate all of this so that you can see how it works. So if you look at the image on the left, it's a whole lot of dots, and that's exactly how your brain works when it comes to creativity. The more knowledge that you have, the more access and recall. Your knowledge are the building blocks to your creativity. So if you're the kind of person where you've maybe just studied, you know, you got your qualification and now you're in the workplace, but you don't do any further research, you don't build your knowledge, what happens is you'll actually be limited in your creativity because you'll have a lot of less information to recall, and you will have a lot less information to problem solve or to join dots. But that only can take place when you're in your relaxed physiological state. Now, what is supposed to happen is, if you look at the image at the top, we spoke about the prefrontal cortex, we spoke about the amygdala. When your amygdala is looking out and you're being creative and you're not really dealing with a whole lot of stresses, anxieties, there's not much worrying you, what will happen is that's where your creativity, your problem solving and innovation kicks in. It will take information and it will go, have I seen this before? It will go to your long-term memory and it will search. It will search for various scenarios of how it could solve that problem or how it could be creative. So we call that abstraction. The challenge is, if you are in a state, if you're in a chronic stress state, or you know you've just had, like I say, a conflict at work or something is going wrong, the prefrontal cortex will shut off because the amygdala is saying, have I seen this before? Yes, this beast is going to kill you, for argument's sake, and it will go into the flight or fight mode, which means it will only send energy to vital organs, which will allow you, give you the strength to fight or to run away. And your prefrontal cortex will not be engaged at all. And that's why sometimes when you're in a panic state and you've got to figure out something and you just can't, and you go, but I know this, I really know this. You know, I'm sure all of you, when you've written exams and you go, oh, I just, you know, I got a blank. The problem is that your prefrontal cortex wasn't able to recall the information because you started stressing. And the more you stress, the less it will activate. So when you experience a writer's block, or if you're experiencing, oh my gosh, I cannot come up with any ideas, the best thing to do is to find a way that you can engage to get back to the relaxed physiological state. And one of those exercises, and I mean there's many, and you can maybe just look at your daily activities and look at what it is that you're doing when you do feel relaxed. Is it music? Is it, you know, being outdoors in nature? And I know we can't always do that in the office, but sometimes going for a walk is not such a bad idea. But if you just take your breathing, for instance, especially through the nose, if you breathe through your mouth, it actually gives your body a sense of that you're anxious or scared. So if you breathe through the nose and you start calming down, and you actually speak to yourself and you go, it's okay, this is fine, it's not going to consume me, I'm in control, everything is going to be okay, and you start communicating with yourself and breathing, it will then slowly start allowing your prefrontal cortex to engage and to start recalling information so that you can be creative. I don't know if you've ever had it, again, I'm just going to use this, you know, if you get called into the office and you have a high anxiety level because you might not know why or what's going on, and you come out of the office and you go, I can't remember what they said, I can't remember what was going on. It's because your prefrontal cortex actually wasn't engaging and your amygdalas were going, do we need to fight or do we need to run or what's going on? So I hope that puts into context the importance of how your brain functions. And if you want to sort of release the creativity on the inside, it has a lot to do with the state that you're in. And then coming to an end, your mindset has a lot to do with your abilities and your creativity. And I don't know if any of you have read the book by Carol Dweck. It's really interesting. And I want you to just assess that, do you have a fixed mindset or a growth mindset? Now, a fixed mindset means that, you know, you believe that people are born with a certain creativity or an intelligence level. That's the way it is. You're not really going to grow much. You can do what you can do, and that's it. A growth mindset might just mean, or it does mean that you go, well, I'm not there yet. I can learn, I can gain the skills, I can go do workshops, I can do what I need to do to get the information that I need. And why this is important as well, when you look within your social group, if you look at your work colleagues and you identify the growth mindset and the fixed mindset, you might be able to handle the situation better. And as well, identifying, you might not have a fixed mindset in many areas, you might only have them in certain areas, so you want to identify them. And very often when I have done, you know, the full workshop and people understand where their fixed mindsets are, I see it more often than not with upper management and with extremely intelligent people, because they kind of, they start to identify with that, you know, that I'm very good at this. This is how people know me. They know me to have a vast general knowledge, so I can't mess up, I can't make a mistake. And when I do a workshop and it becomes a little bit challenging, those are the people that usually go, oh, I've got an important call now, sorry, I've just been called back to the office, or I'm not feeling so good, I need to go to the bathroom. Then I know there's a fixed mindset mentality that's taking place. So just on the next slide, I want to show you quickly what the fixed mindset and growth mindset look like. So if we can just read through this quickly, your fixed mindset, there are people that avoid challenges, shy away from things that they don't know, unable to handle criticism or feedback. Intelligence and talent is static and does not develop post-birth. Do not carry out any actions without seeking approval. Focus on proving yourself. threatened by the success of others, effort is not regarded fruitful, understanding failure as the limit of ability, and gives up easily. But a growth mindset person, and this is what you kind of want to surround yourself with when it comes to an environment that's creative, view challenges as opportunities, acknowledge and embrace your weakness, learn to give and receive constructive criticism. Intelligence and talent is dynamic and ever improving. Prioritize learning over seeking approval. Focus on the process instead of the end result. Be inspired by the success of others. Think of learning as brain training, understanding failure as an opportunity to grow, and persist in the face of setbacks, which is what we refer to as resilience as well. I hope this has identified some of the challenges that you might be facing when you want to be creative, or if you've got a project that you're working on, and you can identify them, understand what's taking place, and how to get out of that mode and get into the mindset that will allow you to be creative. Thank you so much.
Right. Thank you very much, Maria. Would you like to join me on the screen? Okay. Yeah, well, wonderful and very interesting, lovely pictures as well, Maria. Yes, you're quite right. We don't know what the inside of our brain looks like. Maria, I'm going to ask you maybe just on behalf of everyone, because we're not going to have time to take questions and comments, but just give us a sense of where you think we're moving post-COVID. You're quite right. Everyone started working remotely during COVID, and now we sit with that legacy in a sense that everyone is comfortable at home, but in a creative environment in which we work as architects and interior designers, I'm sure have the same challenge. How do we balance working alone, working on the screen via Zoom, and actually working in a team environment at the office? I don't know whether you could touch on that maybe briefly.
I think the most important thing is to first have the conversation with your team. You know, if they prefer working remotely, why? You know, sometimes it's not they prefer it because you know, it's more comfortable, they can be more creative. It might be that they don't experience the value of being part of the team when you're together, you know, so they're avoiding the conflict, or they might be avoiding the issues that take place in the office. That's the one thing. Or they really just do prefer being at home because it's an environment that allows them to relax. But I think it's very important to have the conversation, to get feedback from everybody as to, you know, why they feel a certain way. And especially with Zoom, I'm the kind of person where a lot of what I do, I'm reading body language, I'm looking at how people respond, because it allows me to maybe understand what they're feeling without verbalizing. So those kind of things are important. And I think when you have that conversation collectively, you can say, right, we do understand, you know, everybody likes to work a different way, but what is it that we can agree on when it comes to creativity? And I think especially when you're working part of a team, is for the team to be together, for the value tagging, so that the ideas, you can do the brainstorming, and that might be done on certain days. And I think the other thing as well that is very important within your team, you know, it's work constantly, but to every now and again, you know, even if it's every second month or once a quarter, to do something that allows for, you know, the belonging, where you can do something where you get to know people better that's outside the office. It's good for the creativity because you get to know one another, you get to know each other in a different environment, in a different space, and that again allows for, you know, feeling like I belong to the team. I'm getting to know people, which in essence will draw us back to the office. And that doesn't mean it's always, but finding the balance of the team that you have, because every team is different. Every team has different needs. So it's not a one size fits all. It's about having the conversations.
Okay, thanks, Maria. And once again, thank you very much. Some questions have in fact come through, but I'm sure you're going to be able to address them maybe just via a short email message. And
Yes.
thank you, Johan and Paulo and Leon, for your comments. And we thank Maria on your behalf. Okay, so that then brings us to the next point. And that is, you know, when I was a young architect in training, as we called them then, candidate architects in the early 1980s, there were some products that I encountered when I left university and started working in industry, which were regarded as benchmark products. So in other words, that would be the benchmark, and that everything related to that benchmark. Now, Plascon was one of those such products, and my perception has really never changed regarding that. So I invite you to view this short Plascon video with us. I'm sure you'll enjoy it, and then we'll move on to the second presentation. Thank you, Kurina.
When it comes to coatings, Kansai Plascon Professionals has your project covered from inception to completion and well after. The Plascon 360 Partnership Pledge is a tailored service solution offering you coating specifications, application monitoring, and maintenance service coordination for your property portfolio. You get industry experts that partner with you at every stage of the project to ensure you get peace of mind and the best return on your investment, all at no additional cost to you. Because every project is unique, our specifiers will conduct an on-site assessment based on the location and surrounding environment of your project. This will help you to determine the most suitable products, paint systems, and colors for a long-lasting, beautiful, and protective coating. We'll do a detailed scope of work with you before giving you a tailor-made paint specification to meet the budget for each project. Let us assist you to make the right color choices for your project and help you visualize the end result. Our expert color technicians will accurately color match your colors, and you'll get A4 reference brush outs and samples to test on site. To make sure the paint goes on right and stays on, our choice list of Plascon preferred applicators offer you the highest level of quality workmanship, as well as cost savings, thanks to joint supervision and responsibility. To ensure a long-lasting quality product and workmanship, Plascon Professionals also offer quality management. A selected reference area will be prepared and painted, paying careful attention to moisture levels, weather conditions, wet film thickness, surface preparation, and overcoating times, all to reduce deviations from the agreed specification. Once the painting commences, you'll have regular site visits from Plascon representatives to track the project progress and workmanship before giving you a comprehensive site report. In addition, Plascon provides on-site training as required for projects above 100,000 Rand in paint value. Once the snag list is sorted and the final site inspection is done, you'll receive product quality and assurance guarantees. Only Plascon preferred applicators will be considered for assurance guaranteed projects. An optional annual maintenance program is also available for the life cycle of your coatings, extending the life expectancy, saving you money, and making your life easier. Partner with Kansai Plascon to experience the difference a Plascon professional partner can make to your property portfolio and your bottom line.
All right, welcome back, colleagues. Now for our second presentation, it's my privilege to introduce you to Nathan Kabinga. Good afternoon, Nathan. Just for the sake of our attendees, you are our second SAIAshare international presenter. Nathan is in the DRC as we speak. Nathan Kabinga is a young, dynamic Congolese author, architect by training, and entrepreneur. Currently, he's based alternately in the DRC, that's the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and South Africa. Shortly after completing his primary and secondary education in the DRC, Nathan left his home country for Cyprus in Mediterranean Europe, where he attended an English proficiency school for a year at the Gurney American University. Nathan came to South Africa, where he completed both his undergraduate and master's degrees in architecture. He's documenting African cities with freehand sketches. He's creating a series of books called Sketch and City that is segmented into volumes. Each volume illustrates an African city. And the first volume illustrates Pretoria, one of the capital cities of South Africa. So Nathan, once again, thank you for joining us from so far away, and we look forward to what you're going to inspire us with. Over to you.
Hi everyone, thank you for being here at the SAIAshare 25. The reason why you are here and why I'm also here is because a few years ago, one day I was in a book shop or gallery shop where I got this interesting book. It was very fascinating to me. It was very personal because the author of that book documented the city of Buenos Aires, and they sketched it out, everything. They documented it with sketches, full of sketches, and it was very artistic, well documented, and I felt very attached to that work because I've been developing that skill for years, since I started attending the School of Architecture. So when I was there in Buenos Aires, I actually asked my friends. I asked them like, okay, what do you think of this book? Do you think I can also do something like this, for the African cities or for Africa and something like that? They're like, yeah, sure, go ahead. You have got the skills. You have been developing this skill for years, so you are able to do it. You just need to organize yourself and then go for it. But that time I knew already I was in deep trouble. I was in deep trouble because I had to organize everything. I had to have a road plan, and so when I came back to Africa and then I started organizing myself, I was like, okay, because I'm in Pretoria and I'm studying here, so why not starting from Pretoria? Because I spend most of the time here, and then I'll go to other cities eventually when I am done with Pretoria. Then that's how I started. On this map, you'll see Pretoria highlighted there. But in my documentation, I chose to represent the world map this way. I think this is the right side of representation. I believe Africa should be at the top, not at the bottom. So some people may think it's kind of a provocation thought, or but that's just my belief. And the city of Pretoria, that's where I started. Of course, I started going from a suburb to another area, or I can say I'm going to present it to you as a like different themes of how I documented the city. In Artfield, for instance, now, when you're there, you look at these facades and the views and the shapes of the buildings. It's quite fascinating. Of course, you never miss the University of Pretoria when you're there. There was a lot of buildings that are documented from the University of Pretoria. And also, Arcadia is an interesting neighborhood where you see students living there because they are closer to university campuses, which are at an approximate distance from Arcadia. Also, you see young class professionals, and also exceptionally, you can also see older people, but mostly it's students. And you see this kind of trees, overwhelming the city and overwhelming the areas or the urban fabric. That's why you understand that's why Pichoy is called an urban forest. And you look at different typology, different facades. This is the TUT student accommodation in Arcadia, and then these are the typical type of flats or facade that you'll see in Arcadia. This is the Sheraton Hotel, and also some of the buildings that you see there, which have got some historical backgrounds. And on the tangent notes, I also documented different things, because these are things that I only see in Pretoria or in South Africa. This is a different perspective, and I think it's important for me to document them, because I don't see these type of things in my country. Even the school uniforms, I don't see them in my country. They're different from these. And the sport that you play there, maybe some of the sports are similar to what we have in the DRC, because I'm from the DRC, but it's different. We don't have rugby, for instance, and we didn't win the 2019 World Cup. So and South Africa did, and that moment was very significant for everyone. Even for people that just live in South Africa but who are not from there. This place is very nice, and as government facilities, I think the site was a success. Site selection was a success by the architect, and also the type of activities that are happening there on site. It's very fascinating, because in my country, for instance, we don't get closer to these type of buildings, the government buildings. But here in SA, there's that interaction of people and tourists that are getting there, and also enjoying that moment. It's very peaceful, and you also see historical figures like Nelson Mandela's, which I think it's very important to actually document them. Some other government facilities. And also these faces are remarkable faces in the politics of South Africa. These Madalas, they have got, all of them, they've got a unique element that they added in this country, and it's very important that I actually documented them, because I kind of had to know them in order to understand the history of South Africa. Not only them, there's a lot of other people that are also part of this huge, beautiful story of the country. Of course, as a foreign nationals, you experience things that the other people don't experience, like xenophobic attacks or racism, because we've got all kind of people. It doesn't happen all the time, but they happen from time to time. There's also this mass fall crisis that happened in South Africa a few years back. We had Zuma mass fall, we had Fees mass fall, and there was quite a lot of them that happened subsequently. Also, the taxi drivers, when they are not happy, you kind of feel it, and yeah, so it's actually shaking the whole city when it happens. The townships, the way I documented the townships, Hi everyone, thank you for being here at the SAIAshare 25. The reason why you are here and why I'm also here is because a few years ago, one day I was in a book shop or gallery shop where I got this interesting book. It was very fascinating to me. It was very personal because the author of that book documented the city of Buenos Aires, and they sketched it out, everything. They documented it with sketches, full of sketches, and it was very artistic, well documented, and I felt very attached to that work because I've been developing that skill for years, since I started attending the School of Architecture. So when I was there in Buenos Aires, I actually asked my friends. I asked them like, okay, what do you think of this book? Do you think I can also do something like this, you know, for the African cities or for Africa and something like that? They're like, yeah, sure, go ahead. You have got the skills. You have been developing this skill for years, so you are able to do it. You just need to organize yourself and then go for it. But that time I knew already I was in deep trouble. I was in deep trouble because I had to organize everything. I had to have a road plan, and so when I came back to Africa and then I started organizing myself, I was like, okay, because I'm in Pretoria and I'm studying here, so why not starting from Pretoria? Because I spend most of the time here, and then I'll go to other cities eventually when I am done with Pretoria. Then that's how I started. On this map, you'll see Pretoria highlighted there. But in my documentation, I chose to represent the world map this way. I think this is the right side of representation. I believe Africa should be at the top, not at the bottom. So some people may think it's kind of a provocation thought, or but that's just my belief. And the city of Pretoria, that's where I started. Of course, I started going from a suburb to another area, or I can say I'm going to present it to you as a like different themes of how I documented the city. In Artfield, for instance, now, when you are there, you look at these facades and the views and the shapes of the buildings. It's quite fascinating. Of course, you will never miss the University of Pretoria when you are there. There was a lot of buildings that are documented from the University of Pretoria. And also Arcadia is an interesting neighborhood where you see students living there because they are closer to university campuses, which are at an approximate distance from Arcadia. Also, you see young class professionals, and also exceptionally you can also see older people, but mostly it's students. And you see this kind of trees, overwhelming the city and overwhelming the areas or the urban fabric. That's why you understand that's why Pretoria is called an urban forest. And you look at different typology, different facades. This is the TUT student accommodation in Arcadia, and then these are the typical type of flats or facade that you'll see in Arcadia. This is the Sheraton Hotel, and also some of the buildings that you see there, which have got some historical backgrounds. And on the tangent notes, I also documented different things, because these are things that I only see in Pretoria or in South Africa, this is a different perspective, and I think it's important for me to document them because I don't see these type of things in my country. Even the school uniforms, I don't see them in my country. They're different from these, and the sport that you play there, maybe some of the sports are similar to what we have in the DRC, because I'm from the DRC, but it's different. We don't have rugby, for instance, and we didn't win the 2019 World Cup. So and South Africa did, and that moment was very significant for everyone. Even for people that just live in South Africa but who are not from there. This place is very nice, and as government facilities, I think the site was a success. Site selection was a success by the architect, and also the type of activities that are happening there on site. It's very fascinating because in my country, for instance, we don't get closer to these type of buildings, the government buildings. But here in SA, there's that interaction of people and tourists that are getting there and also, enjoying that moment. It's very peaceful, and you also see historical figures like Nelson Mandela's, which I think it's very important to actually document them. Some other government facilities. And also these faces are remarkable faces in the politics of South Africa. These Madalas, they've got, all of them, they've got a unique element that they added in this country, and it's very important that I actually documented them because I kind of had to know them in order to understand the history of South Africa. Not only them, there's a lot of other people that are also part of this huge, beautiful story of the country. Of course, as a foreign nationals, you experience things that the other people don't experience, like xenophobic attacks or racism, because we have got all kind of people. It doesn't happen all the time, but they happen from time to time. There's also this must fall crisis that happened in South Africa a few years back. We had Zuma must fall, we had Fees must fall, and there's quite a lot of them that happened subsequently. Also, the taxi drivers, when they are not happy, you kind of feel it, and yeah, so it's actually shaking the whole city when it happens. The townships, the way I documented the townships, I actually put my heart into it, and I wanted to also understand what happened before and what's happening now. Like here, what you're looking at now is the Marabastad maps of what was Marabastad when it was built, and then later on, and then today how it looks like. This is how it looks like today, but Marabastad was kind of intentionally destroyed for some reasons. Also you can still see the remaining of what Marabastad is, and also the history always comes back, and I believe also in documenting that area also just contribute to the preservation of the history of that place. Like in this drawing, what I was trying to achieve here is to communicate the spirit of the place. You can almost smell what's happening there. You can almost imagine the type of noise and the type of activities that are happening there. So that was the intention of communicating here in this composition. And this is Soshanguve, very interesting, vibrant area also. People are doing different activities, playing in open fields, and also, you know, the type of houses and the houses with, you know, cladded with corrugated sheeting, you know, those in those areas it's very frequent. And activities happening outside, people drinking, and having the hair salon outside, playing, or the sangomas. You know, everything is just happening outside. People are living outside. It's different from the suburbs, where you don't see people outside. You just see cars or maybe no one. But here, it's alive. The city is alive in that area, in those areas, and I was very glad to be there. Of course, I didn't go there myself. I had to be guided by someone. But from that area, that's what I did when I was visiting each and every areas. I had to have someone with me to show me around. But I preferred not to have an architect because when you go with an architect around, they tend to show you things that are architecturally. But I wasn't only documenting about architecture, even though you can see most of the things are architecture, but I was documenting about, you know, things that are actually appealing to my eyes. This is my melody, the roundabouts in my melody. A very interesting site, but unfortunately, what you see there at the top is what it used to be before, and then at the bottom, those are, you know, they were vandalized, and then this is how it looks like. It's just ruins, and yeah. So this school has got a very significant story. Um, People like Archbishop Desmond Tutu studied here, and some other famous people. And in my melody, you tend to see cows, you know, in different places, you know, in random places. Yeah. So it was also unique for me because I've never seen them that way elsewhere, but I saw them in my melody, and then it seems to be normal. And when I ask people around there, like, okay, why do you have cows? You know, just they are not in farms, but they're just being anywhere randomly. So they will ask, they say, okay, because some people have got you know, some ritual practice, and then they use them for rituals, and then you're like, okay, why rituals and cows? So you don't understand. And then when you start asking more questions, and then they become shy because, I don't know, maybe some bad spirits will come over them, and then they will disappear or something. So I didn't continue my questioning. Yeah. So here it's still my melody, still documentation of the township fabrics. And yeah, so it was quite interesting. I documented a lot of things happening in townships. And then here, going back to the city, this is the city center, the CBD. It's a neighborhood with high-rise buildings, very interesting also. And there's a lot to document about this. This is Church Square, still in Pretoria CBD. And when you get closer to buildings, you start looking at the facade and different architecture and the thinking behind, you know, the design of the buildings, etc. And also you look at, you know, the historical factors of Pretoria. Like Pretoria is called Tshwane. This is the chief Tshwana of Pretoria. So he has a statue in CBD. And also I looked at other statues like Solomon Mahlangu, another political activist who played a big role in the history of the country. And also, you know, the interaction that I had with people, with kids, people smiling back at me and stuff like that. So for me, it's very personal, because these are not things that I see in other places where I travel, but here it was unique. Maybe for someone who have been there for all his life may not notice, but for me, these are very interesting things. Like this guy, collecting the trashes. They're helping the environment actually, and it's quite important. And I think they are helping a lot the municipalities, and they are making the city clean. Here you see people walking around, playing and eating spatulas in townships, and some people are actually dealing drugs there, and interesting things happening. The faces are very unique. South African faces are unique to the country. Maybe when you go to other countries, you may not see the same faces. You'll see people of the same color, but not exactly the same faces. So it was important to actually document them. The patterns, the indelible patterns, the Sichuan patterns, very important. They use the Sichuan patterns in the traditional wedding, and so I got to appreciate those type of movement. And also iconic architecture in the city of Pretoria are interesting. Here is we are at the Freedom Park. This is the Hindu temple in Marabastad. We have got the zoo. It's one of the biggest zoo in the world, and also a very interesting botanical garden with a lot of species of trees or plants there. So it's very interesting to actually document all of these things. Transportation infrastructure, very important with the Gautrain, helping a lot of people, especially in Gauteng. The highways, the bridges, the bus stop stations, and also we've got an airport in Pretoria, the Vanderboom Airport. Maybe most of us do not use it, but there is an airport there. Also, to complete this work, I had to document it properly into a book. It was also another layer to my work, on top of just sketching, but I had to put it nicely together in a presentable book so that people can enjoy it when we share this experience with them. So we also had to give like a complete, well thought, even on the cover design. The design needed to be representing the African spirit or an African theme. So we didn't want to leave anything to chances. And then here we also developed, these big format drawings, because I know we enjoy it, some people enjoy it, and myself, I appreciate having these big format of drawings. And also I started documenting also current events happening around the continent. Like this is the bombing in Khartoum in Sudan, of the crisis happening. I believe as an artist, I also need to document and to get my voice heard, outside there. So I'm also working with an architect from Khartoum, a Sudanese architect, in documenting some of the buildings in Khartoum there. I was very glad to use this skill for that project as well. This is some of the tutorials that I'm making in documenting different cities. This is the city of Dakar, this is still Pretoria, and also we're using the same skill into documenting, and also creating the presence online. This is our presence online. And of course, for the background of this website, I was inspired by this town, the Makoko town in Lagos, Nigeria. So this is why you see in the background people on the boats, and people actually, enjoying the life on the boat and living there.
I would like to acknowledge my sponsors and partners. They have been with me since the beginning of this project up to today. And yeah, that's my closing words. Thank you so much for watching this presentation, and I'm looking forward to hear your questions, and I'm here to answer.
Okay, colleagues, I'm sure you'll allow me to say thank you very, very much to Nathan for sharing his exceptional talent with us. I must say, Nathan, I was inspired by what you had to show us, and I just want to scroll through some of the messages that came through. Derek, beautiful sketches, Nathan. Deborah Garth, stunning drawings, Nathan. Roger Wimpy, how big are your drawings? Maybe you can comment on that, size-wise. I suppose they differ. Nathan?
Yes, the size, usually I sketch them in, okay, A3 size, yes. Okay. Yeah, but yeah, usually I sketch them in A3, but sometimes I sketch them bigger, depending on what I'm trying to, I want to achieve. Yes.
Okay, so, great. No, thanks, Nathan. And Yanri Lema, love your sketches. Are you on Instagram or somewhere where we could see the collection?
Yes, I'm on Instagram. My name on Instagram is Sketch and City. Sketch and City. Yes, and also my website is nathankabinga.com. Yes, that's
okay, great. And Karina is going to place on the chat box Nathan's website address for you. Please do visit it and support Nathan where you can. Johan Pansegro, Andre Odendaal, lovely drawings. Johan Pansegro, thank you, Nathan. As a retired lecturer, I am really concerned about the fact that students have lost the skill of sketching. Dean Scott Hayward, thank you for your comment. Fascinating drawings. Wow. Vivian Hobbs, thank you. Your content is always so inspiring and interesting, always appreciated. Natalie van Sale, absolutely beautiful and expressive drawings. Pernille Martin, very impressed. Ruby Antoinette, Bongerais, lovely pictures, very inspiring for the city of Pretoria. Ayanda Made, great sketches, Nathan. Particularly love the fact that you focus on different aspects that makes up the city from its people. Then Skalpinar will become Afrikaner. That's a statement. Thank you, Skalk. Henry De Silva, fantastic. Okay, Marcel says the sketches are great, but the whole idea is fantastic. Well done, Nathan. Henry De Silva, lovely expressive sketches. Shane Stewart, beautiful drawings, reminds us all to take the time to continue sketching as it is becoming a lost art, I feel. Colleagues, that's it then. Nathan, once again, if I've missed anything, any comments, pardon me, but it's time to thank Nathan once again and to bid him farewell up in the DRC. Thank you very much, Nathan, for sharing with us. Colleagues, then that takes, okay, great. That brings us then to the end of SAIAshare. Please hang on just another 5 minutes, 4 minutes. Once again, Maria, thank you for exploring the inside of the brain for us, and Nathan for sharing particularly Pretoria in such a wonderful way. Thanks again to our gracious sponsors, Plascon. Note, Plascon is presenting a webinar on substrates and surface preparation. It's planned for late afternoon, the 25th of July. Take the time to attend it. As already mentioned, SAIAshare carries a Category 1 CPD value of 0.1 points. And once again to you attendees, thank you very much for joining us. We trust you enjoyed the event, and we invite you to join us again on the first Friday of August. That's the 4th of August. We will enjoy the company of two very special architects. Henning Erasmus was one of the founders of Paragon Architects. In 2021, he founded Datascape Architects Africa. I have no doubt you'll be inspired by his vigor and passion for architecture and for the practice of architecture. And then Nadine Engelbrecht is an award-winning architect from Pretoria. And there too, I have no doubt you will be inspired by Nadine's work and her approach to the art and profession of architecture. Architects love what they do, but are easily intimidated by what other architects do and achieve. This, of course, can have a debilitating effect. Charlie Mackesy, once again, has some sound advice for us who like comparing ourselves with others. In his book, Charlie Mackesy relates the following. In the book called The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse. And we hear the boy ask the mole, what do you think is the biggest waste of time? The mole answers, comparing yourself to others. So the message for the month is go out, don't compare yourselves to others, be yourself and do your best. So until we meet again in a month's time, thank you once again for joining us and all the best to you. Bye-bye.